Bowl projections week 7 from Brett McMurphy at Action Network. We're going to be going over it like we do every single Wednesday throughout the year. Bowl projections, yes. Everything in college football is important here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. Welcome to episode 72. And before we go on, I just want to thank you all for our biggest live show we've ever had in this 2-month, very young channel last night. I appreciate all your participation. If you missed it, go back into our YouTube channel and check out our live show from last night on October 11th. Today, we're going to be talking about the bowl projections and also the updates. The updates of our hot board, Peek Around the Corner hot board for the new head coaching job at Arizona State, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. We like to keep our hot boards very, very short, and we got short ones today for Arizona State hot board 3.0, Nebraska hot board 4.0, and Wisconsin hot board 2.0. But let's first get into the bowl projections as they've been changing every single week. Right? Now, some of you say in the comment section, Greg, it's too early. Who cares about all these bowl projections? We do at Peek Around the Corner. Everything is important to us. But put down your comments down in the comment section below the video. Let me know your thoughts. I read them all and what you agree or disagree with Brett McMurphy on his bowl projections at Action Network and what you agree or disagree with my thoughts on Brett McMurphy bowl projections. And please smash that like button if you like our content. It helps with the algorithm so much at YouTube. We're starting to see a big increase in exposure at YouTube. Lots of viewership. We appreciate you all so much. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this ever-growing channel if you haven't done so. And please share the video with your family and friends. Let's get to the bowl projections. Brett McMurphy. Let's get right to it. Week 7. Action Network. College football poll projections for week 7. Brett McMurphy's predictions with projected spreads. He goes on to say in this article he no longer has Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Michigan, 2 SEC schools, 2 Big Ten schools to meet in the college football playoffs. He doesn't have Michigan there any longer, and I don't blame him one bit because of the rise of Clemson. I didn't think Clemson was going to be this good this year. I didn't think DJ Ungale was going to perform like he has in the quarterback position at Clemson for Dabo Swinney. I was completely wrong. So Clemson has sort of upset the cart, right? Clemson has tipped over the table, so to speak. It doesn't look like it will be possible for 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams to make the college football playoffs because Clemson Tigers. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below the video. Let's get right down to his predictions. Again, we do this every Wednesday. Liberty, Marshall, to be determined bowl game. Miami, Ohio, Louisiana Tech, Bahama Bowl. Troy and Rice at the Trading Cure Bowl. No changes there from the previous week. Louisville, Memphis at the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. That's a change. Louisville would be determined to be a 7.5-point favorite over Memphis in this projections for week 7. From Brett McMurphy at Action Network. New Mexico Bowl, Wyoming versus North Texas. The LA Bowl, Washington State, Boise State. The Lending Tree Bowl, Mobile, Alabama, Ohio, South Alabama. The Las Vegas Bowl, LSU and Utah. If you read the article at Action Network, Brett McMurphy says it looks like the situation at the Las Vegas Bowl has been figured out. It's going to be played at the time, the date, December 17th, and at the time of the evening that it was previously scheduled. There was possible some conflictions between the LA Raiders and the Vegas Bowl. It has been figured out. So LSU, Utah, here's the projection. Of course, none of us know if this is going to come true, but the Las Vegas Bowl is going to be played on December 17th at the time of kickoff that it was originally scheduled for. LSU, Utah, that would be a great football game. Houston, UTEP, Frisco Bowl, December 17th. Projections at Myrtle Beach Bowl. Conway, South Carolina, December 19th. East Carolina versus Toledo. The Idaho Potato Bowl. Buffalo Bulls, the UNLV Rebels, Running Rebels, Buffalo, UNLV. The Boca Raton Bowl, BYU versus SMU. Ooh, that would be a very good game down in Boca Raton, Florida, December 20th. To the New Orleans Bowl, according to Brett McMurphy's Action Network projections, New Orleans Bowl, UTSA versus Coastal Carolina, still undefeated in the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina, the fans have bigger dreams. The New Orleans Bowl right now, as we see it here today, we'll see what happens. The Armed Forces Bowl, Oklahoma versus Air Force. Oklahoma is taking a fall this year, but Brett McMurphy still has them in the Armed Forces Bowl. Fort Worth, Texas, December 22nd against Air Force. The Independence Bowl, Tulane. Tulane still has bigger dreams in the Independence Bowl. They're doing incredibly well in the American Athletic Conference. They're nipping at the heels of Cincinnati. Tulane versus Indiana. Independence Bowl. Indiana's going to have to win a couple more games to get to a bowl game. It's going to be tough. Miami of Florida, Gasparilla Bowl. Miami of Florida, they lost to North Carolina. They got to get back on track. Miami of Florida versus Rutgers. Rutgers lost a tough game last week. San Jose State versus Western Kentucky and the Hawaii Bowl. The Quick Lane Bowl. Michigan State. Oh, how far they have fallen here in 2022. Wow. All the way down to the last, pretty much the last rated Big Ten tie-in bowl game. Quick Lane Bowl, Guarantee Rate Bowl, however you want to split it. Michigan State, Brett McMurphy has them playing at home here, Detroit, or close to home, Detroit, Michigan, against a MAC school, Ball State. First Responder Bowl, Dallas, Texas, December 27th. Texas Tech and Nebraska. Nebraska's in the bowl projections. Brett McMurphy Action Network, Nebraska versus Texas Tech. I'm sure Nebraska fans, those Cornhuskers, starting to support Mickey Joseph. Can Nebraska make a run at the Big Ten West? We shall see with these bowl projections. It's Texas Tech versus Nebraska. South Carolina, Georgia Tech, Birmingham Bowl. That'd be a very good bowl for the Birmingham Bowl to have Georgia Tech and South Carolina both in there. UAB, Appalachian State at Montgomery, Alabama. The guaranteed rate, Wisconsin, Kansas State. I believe that was the same thing as last week. Wisconsin, wow. Graham Mertz, they won. They beat Michigan State last week. They got some tough games ahead of them. Kansas State, Adrian Martinez, he would get another shot at defeating the Wisconsin Badgers. That would be a pretty cool game to watch. Duke, UCF, the Military Bowl. Wednesday, December 28th at Annapolis, Maryland. The Liberty Bowl, Baylor versus Auburn. Can Auburn get to that bowl game? Can the Auburn Tigers get to that bowl game? I don't know about that. I would have to disagree with the Action Network. I don't think Auburn Tigers are going to get the 6 wins. We shall see. Wake Forest versus Oregon State in the Holiday Bowl. The Texas Bowl, Kansas Jayhawks versus Texas A&M. That would be a blast to watch. Kansas, did they lose their starting quarterback, Jalen Daniels, to a shoulder injury for the rest of the year, or did they not? Mixed reports last night. Mixed reports. There were some reports out of Lawrence, Kansas, that Kansas lost their star-studded quarterback, Jalen Daniels. It would have to go to Jason Bean for the rest of the season, the backup quarterback. But Jalen Daniels, in his own Twitter account, said, "What is this? Like, what is this?" I'm paraphrasing, but he didn't understand the report that said he was out for the rest of the year. So we're going to have to follow that story closely. Kansas has only lost one game. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, they're struggling. The Aggies are struggling. We'll see how they finish the season. And the Pinstripe Bowl. Oh, geez, how far they have fallen. My beloved Golden Gophers are now projected by Brett McMurphy at Action Network to go to the Pinstripe Bowl against Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles. The Gophers were projected to be in the Citrus Bowl. Then the Music City Bowl. And now the Pinstripe Bowl. Oh boy, my Gophers, they need to beat Illinois this Saturday. They need to defeat the Fighting Illini. Minnesota, Florida State, Pinstripe Bowl. The Cheez-It Bowl, Notre Dame versus Texas. Notre Dame versus Texas. That's been projected previously. That would be a huge game. Orlando, Florida. Two biggest brands in the country. Notre Dame versus Texas. Wow. Drew Pine versus Quinn Ewers. Got to give the advantage to the Longhorns. Got to give the advantage to the Longhorns. The Alamo Bowl. TCU, Oregon. Right? Obviously, both these fan bases are dreaming bigger than this. They're both rated right next to each other in the AP poll. I believe Oregon is 12, TCU is 13, something like that. TCU is undefeated. Oregon's only lost that first game to Georgia, 49-3 in the first week. But those two teams are coming on strong. Right now they're projected by Brett McMurphy to play in the Alamo Bowl. Both teams are dreaming bigger than that. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, Purdue, Boilermakers. Right now, they're the favorites to win the Big Ten West. Purdue Boilermakers versus the Pittsburgh Panthers. In the Tiger Sun Bowl, the Syracuse Orangemen versus Washington. Washington has stumbled the last couple weeks. The Syracuse Orangemen is undefeated. They play North Carolina State this weekend. Wow. Dino Babers has got that program rolling. Sean Tucker, the fabulous quarterback. That whole team is rolling. They got a big game this Saturday. North Carolina versus Arkansas in the Gator Bowl. Jackson, Florida, December 30th. North Carolina with a big win last week on the road versus Miami of Florida. Arkansas has been stumbling around lately. They were without KJ Jefferson. We're going to have to watch that story very closely. Once again, I think for the third week in a row, the Arizona Bowl, the projections per Brett McMurphy at Action Network says Eastern Michigan, MAC school versus San Diego State. I think that's the third week in a row, or possibly the fourth week in a row, we have that same projection. In the Music City Bowl, Maryland versus the Florida Gators, as Maryland has dropped from the Citrus Bowl now to the Music City Bowl after their last week's loss. Terrapins versus the Gators. In Tampa Bay, Florida, January 2nd, Kentucky versus Illinois. The Fighting Illinois. I tell you what, that Illinois Gopher game is huge on this Saturday, Big Ten Network, noon Eastern time, amongst a whole bunch of big games for week 7. Kentucky, again, they've stumbled the last few weeks. Kentucky versus Illinois. In the Citrus Bowl, Penn State Nittany Lions versus Mississippi State. That would be a fantastic game to watch. But again, Penn State fan base, undefeated. They have bigger dreams than the Citrus Bowl. They're thinking college football playoffs, or they're thinking Rose Bowl. But right now, the projections are Penn State in the Citrus Bowl. Penn State has a huge game against Michigan. Week 7 slate is fantastic. Week 7 is going to be full of drama. Big games, huge highlights, big-time players playing against big-time players. Penn State versus Mike Leach. Wow, that would be a great game, but Penn State is dreaming bigger. In the Orange Bowl, North Carolina State versus Ole Miss. That's because Brett McMurphy has Clemson in the playoffs. So North Carolina State would take over that Orange Bowl spot versus Ole Miss. That would be a fantastic game. But we got to keep an eye on the injury to Devin Leary, the starting quarterback of the Wolfpack. Can he get back on the field? Mixed reports coming out of North Carolina. We shall see. In the Sugar Bowl, Oklahoma State versus Tennessee. Both teams are undefeated as we talk right now today. Oklahoma State Cowboys play undefeated TCU this Saturday. Undefeated Tennessee Volunteers play undefeated Alabama this Saturday. Again, week 7. Incredible week of college football. Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Sugar Bowl. Cotton Bowl, USC versus Cincinnati. There's Cincinnati again, getting that New York 6 bowl game. best G5 program in the country as we speak today, USC Cincinnati. Of course, the Trojan fans are dreaming bigger. They're undefeated, right? They're undefeated, looking for possible college football playoff spot, winning the Pac-12 conference championship game. Right now it's projected Cotton Bowl, USC Cincinnati. The Rose Bowl, UCLA. Same position as USC, undefeated, looking at a Pac-12 championship. UCLA with a big win last week versus the Michigan Wolverines in the Rose Bowl, as Michigan has dropped down in the projections because they haven't been playing at the level everyone expected them to. They've dropped a little bit, and Clemson has risen. Clemson has risen. Here in the Brett McMurphy Action Network, new projections for Week 7. Alabama, Clemson in the Peach Bowl for one semifinal game. Buckeyes versus the Bulldogs, Fiesta Bowl in the other semifinal game. And Brett McMurphy, Action Network, has it projected. Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. I agree with the most part of these projections. I had Ohio State Buckeyes and Alabama meeting in the championship game at the beginning of the season. I have Alabama Crimson Tide winning the thing. And of course, I won't change my predictions. But the Buckeyes right now, for me, are the number one team in the country with a bullet. I think they're the best team playing right now. Give me your thoughts. What do you think? What teams are left out? What teams are included here that shouldn't be included? I've got a big one. I don't think Auburn's going to get to 6 wins. I don't think Indiana's going to get to 6 wins either. But we shall see. We shall see. Again, put down your thoughts in the comment section below the video. And please, again, smash that like button. Share this video and subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Thank you so much. Let's get quickly to the hot board. Arizona State Hot Board 3.0, Nebraska 4.0, Wisconsin 2.0. Arizona. Again, I just got 2 names for every school. The 2 names that I think are the leaders in the clubhouse right now here in the middle of the 2022 season. Arizona, I've got number 1, Dillingham. And Aquano, number 2, right? Sean Aquano, who is the interim head coach right now for Arizona State. They just won last week. Big game, big upset. Both these gentlemen have strong ties to the area of Arizona State. And I think that's going to be very important for Athletic Director Anderson and for Arizona State. I think they're looking for someone who has ties with the community. Aquano was a very successful high school football coach in Arizona and then became Arizona State Sun Devils running back coach in 2019. Has been there ever since. He has taken over the head coaching position since Herm Edwards was fired, released, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's got to be right now on the hot board for Arizona State. But again, I get back to Dillingham. I've received a lot of pushback from a lot of fans, Arizona State fans and others, that Dillingham is too young to be on your hot board list, Greg. He's too young. I don't think so. He may not get the job, right? But I think he's up there. We've got him as number 1. Kenny Dillingham, offensive coordinator of Oregon. Scott, originally from Scottsdale, Arizona. You know the history. We've been over this before. Look at the job he's doing for Oregon. Look at that offense. It rolls, it rolls. He worked with Bo Nix at Auburn. He comes to Oregon, and look what he's doing with Bo Nix here at Oregon. The development. Listen to Dillingham the way he talks. Go listen to him in his press conference, how he talks to the media. Imagine how he talks to the players. He talks about culture. I think he's a rising star, and I think Arizona State will attach their wagon to Kenny Dillingham. That is our number 1 guy on the Arizona State hot board list. I don't think they're going to go with another Herm Edwards type of hire, like a Bronco Mendenhall, who seems to want to get back to head coaching. Maybe a Dan Mullen, maybe. But I think guys like possible candidates like Deion Sanders is going to want to go somewhere else who will have a possible selection to pick from in the Southeast. So I don't think Deion Sanders is a particularly strong candidate for the Arizona State head coaching position. I still have the young guy. I think he's 33 years old. Dillingham as the #1 guy at Arizona State's hot board. Nebraska, Matt Rule, #1 with a bullet. Matt Rule is just fired by the Carolina Panthers. He is a Charles Alberts type of guy in our estimation here at Peek Around the Corner. Matt Rule is going to be highly sought after. Yes, he has a deal with Carolina Panthers where he still is owed $40 million. Over $40 million left on the contract. And if he takes a position, a head coaching position at a college football program next year, he won't receive all that $40 million. So it is possible that Matt Rule doesn't become a head coach in college football for a year. Maybe he'll take an analyst position. Because taking an analyst position, college football analyst position, doesn't seem to affect these NFL contracts. In other words, Matt Rule would still be receiving $800,000 a month for the next 12 months if he took an analyst position at a college football program. So, Matt Rule is #1, but he can't be the only name on the board. Right now, we have Mickey Joseph, #2 on the board, the interim head coach of Nebraska. They've won 2 Big Ten conference games under his leadership. Mickey Joseph has to be high on the board. For the 4.0 hot board for the Cornhuskers, we've got Mickey Joseph #2 and the Wisconsin Badgers. They won last week. Jim Leonard, defensive coordinator, now the new interim head coach. We've got him #1 because he has a job. If the Badgers respond to him, if the Badgers make a big run and win the Big Ten West or come close to winning the Big Ten West, Leonard will probably get the job. He is well known. He is well respected. A lot of people believe that McIntosh, the athletic director of Wisconsin, fired Paul Chryst so he could get his hands, keep Jim Leonard in Madison, Wisconsin. Have to have Jim Leonard #1. And #2, Lance Leipold, the head coach of Kansas. Don't have to say more. Fantastic job. He scares me. He scares me that we have to put him on the Badgers hot board list as #1 and #2 because he's a legend in Wisconsin. Whitewater, Wisconsin, Division III football program. He's a legend up there. He would be an incredible hire for the evil Badgers of Wisconsin. I didn't want to put his name up there, but we had to here at Peek Around the Corner. So that's our hot board update list for Arizona State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Dillingham, Rule, Leonard. Let me know what you think about our hot board list. Put down your own hot board list for these 3 universities in the comment section below the video. And again, thank you so much for joining us here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, episode 72. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.